is Ro Khanna? Who is he? Is he progressive? I don't think so. Is he a Democrat establishment? I think he really is. Is he a wolf in sheep's clothing? Well, here he is revealing himself. He had an interview with MSNBC. They are talking to him about Russia, Ukraine, and they're also going to talk to him about Hillary Clinton. Shout out to K-Study QB for this clip as well. K-Study is racking them up tonight. Going into the story, listen to this.
Ro Khanna, thank you so much for joining me, Congressman. Appreciate it. Of course, we are all focused on these atrocities, these horrifying images that are coming out of Bucha. And President Biden today said that he is now working on new sanctions. President Zelensky said that just does not go far enough. What is your take, and should the U.S. go further and give Zelensky what he's been asking for, the Polish fighter jets, for example?
First of all, I want to chime in here before Ro Khanna man speaks. First of all, who is Zelensky to tell us what goes far enough and what we need to give him? Who is Zelensky to start making demands to the United States? What is happening here? Listen, I have sympathy for people in Russia and Ukraine dealing with this crisis that had absolutely nothing to freaking do with it. But how did it get to the point that Zelensky is now telling us what we're going to do for him? Let's listen to his answer. Where do you hear this?
Well, the images are horrific. They are war crimes. I mean, brutal targeting of civilians. It's horrific that this is happening in the 21st century. We need more punishing sanctions that are going after more of the oligarchs. Only about 12 of them have had assets seized, and that are going after more people other than Putin who are responsible for these atrocities. And we need to get Ukraine more weapons. We've already provided them anti-tank, anti-aircraft missiles. We need to get them more missiles, more planes, more tanks that they need. And the United States, as I understand it, is helping other allies get those weapons to Ukraine.
So he agrees. It's interesting how Ro Khanna, Joe Biden, how all of them at this point in DC can bend over backwards to help another country, but they're not willing to do that to help people right here in the United States. We need to get them everything that they need. But you can't give Americans everything that we need. But you can do it for someone else. Am I wrong? This should frustrate you. You should be pissed off at this point. They have all this money to give weapons, to give aid to people abroad. But when we ask for simple things, healthcare, we don't have the money. Free community college, we don't have the money. Canceling student loan debt, oh, that would be terrible for the economy, which is a lie, by the way. We can't get anything. All we get from the politicians in DC is virtue signaling and a red-blue game. That's it. When they do try to do something that they consider to be significant, they cut it or they take it away. Giving people $2,000 stimulus checks. We're going to cut it. We're going to reduce it. Psych. The child tax credit. Here you go. We just lifted up half the kids in America out of poverty. They were bragging about that. And I told you that's not a bragging point because the other half are still in poverty. I don't know why they thought this is something that you should brag about. What happened? They took it away. Let's go back into con man.
Congressman, President Zelensky says, though, all of those steps, including the military aid to date, just has not gone far enough. One of the other big things that we've heard Zelensky call for is
again, why does she care? And why should we care? What Zelensky is saying has not gone far enough. Why should that be our issue? Some people will listen to this and they'll think that I'm being harsh. How dare you say things like that? You don't care about the people in Ukraine. I care about people all across the world. But if you say that you care about people, that you care about everybody, you don't get to cherry pick the ones that you really help when you're helping people. Because if you really care about the people, then you should care about people in Russia that are being penalized because of the sanctions as well. People that had nothing to do with this. If you say you care about people, you should care about the people in Somalia. You should care about the people in Yemen. You should care about the people in Haiti. You should care about the people starving in Afghanistan. If you say you care about all people. Now I'm seeing people on Twitter arguing with each other back and forth, having Twitter battles, because people are saying something that I just said, something like what I just said. People are saying that on Twitter, and these people are coming in with these bios that have the Ukraine flag in the bio. Now all of a sudden everybody loves Ukraine. Y'all didn't give two shits about Ukraine 2 years ago, so stop. All these people with this bio that says I stand with Ukraine, did you stand with them 2 years ago? No. Some of them can't even point Ukraine out on a map. Get out of here. That is propaganda at its finest. Because mainstream media told you to care. That's why you care. Because the Academy Awards told you to care about them. That's why you care. Because the Grammys told you to care about them. That's why you care. Because Facebook told you to care about them. That's why you care. Had it not been for all the propaganda from the media and from Hollywood, would you even have known to care? Let's go back in.
No-fly zone. You have been very clear that you're opposed to that, but is there any circumstance under which you would support a no-fly zone? I know last month you called it a euphemism for an air war against Russia, but is your view changing?
Well, first, let's be clear what the United States has done. No country in the world has done more than the United States. It's our weapons that have allowed the Ukrainians to put up the heroic fight that they have. So I'm very
proud. And yet, Congressman, it hasn't changed Putin's equation one bit. He has continued to move forward, and now these new atrocities that we have all seen. So has the U.S. done enough?
Well, I think it has prevented Putin from rolling over Ukraine. If it weren't for our weapons there, and if it weren't for the president's leadership, the experts said that Putin was going to roll over the entire country in 2 weeks. Now, it's the Ukrainian heroism, but I think President Zelensky would be the first to acknowledge that this president has stood strong, that his weapons and his leadership in the world has made the difference.
But he's not, Khanna. He's not. She just told you that Zelensky said it's not enough. The United States government shelled out all this money, and Zelensky is telling them it is not enough. I would really like to hear from voices in Somalia, Afghanistan, Yemen, if you know someone there, please let me know. Someone that is willing to speak out. I would really like to hear from them. Because I can pretty much guarantee you, if they ask, if they've been asking for more help, telling the United States government, this isn't right, this isn't enough, it wouldn't even be on mainstream media. I really despise the fact that the United States government poses as the world's police. I despise it. Now, I went over that list with you last night of all the countries that the United States government has intervened in the regime changes. That went all the way back to 1912. I think it is a disturbing fact that the United States government can just basically tell other countries how they can and cannot govern, what they can and cannot do. People don't do that to us. Imagine if Germany one day said, listen, Americans, from now on, this is how it's going to be. It's hard to imagine that, right? Because we've always been the ones doing it to them. Thank you for the super chat, Nancy Strickland. I stand for peace. Love you, Sabby. Thank you so much, Nancy. I hear you. I hear you. I hate war. I hate intervention. There's always innocent people killed. I hate it. I despise it. Now, Khanna says that he's anti-war. Max Blumenthal called him out on that, as you saw in videos the other week or so. I'm anti-war except this situation, this situation, this situation. Okay. That's like someone saying, I'm a vegetarian except I eat chicken every other Sunday. I eat steaks on Fridays. Come on. Come on. Make sure you smash that like button, guys. That really does help me with the algorithm. Give it a big old thumbs up smack. Like that. Going back in to the con man.
Can we do more? Yes, we should get more weapons, but it would be irresponsible for us to get into a shooting war with Russia, and that's what a no-fly zone is. So I do not think that that would be a prudent move, and I respect that the president is doing everything possible short of committing American troops, American airmen and women in a war with Russia.
Congressman, you talked about sanctioning more oligarchs. There are other steps the U.S. can take when it comes to the SWIFT financial system. For example, there are other financial institutions that could be kicked out of SWIFT. There are secondary sanctions that could be done. What specifically do you want to see on a broader scale that goes beyond just sanctioning oligarchs that you think could potentially take a big bite?
I do think we ought to look at getting more of the Russian economy off of the SWIFT system, that could be punishing. But we also need to call on Europe and Germany to stop buying the Russian oil. I mean, the reality is, as long as you have other countries providing a market for Russians, it's very difficult to bring Russia's economy to its knees. And so
why are you trying to bring their economy to its knees? I'm going to say this again. These sanctions don't just affect Putin. Doesn't just affect one person. Khanna just told you he wants to bring the Russian economy to its knees, which means he's looking forward to a collapse of their economy. Why would you want the people there to suffer in that way? Why? Because the United States government always wants to be number one. Why do you think they're looking at China? China has eradicated 95% of poverty. Do you guys know that? 95%. The United States government is afraid of China right now when it comes to the economy. because for the most part, they don't really need us. But we sure do need them. I think it's disgusting listening to him say this. We want to bring their economy to its knees. So now we can add starving people in Russia to this list too? Interesting. Interesting. I want to remind you that Khanna is heavily funded and supported by the tech industry in Silicon Valley. Keep that in mind. His wife takes money from the military industrial complex. Keep that in mind. I'm going to go back into the video.
One of the things the president is doing, and we need to continue to do, is to put pressure on Europe and our other allies not to engage in commerce with Russian oil and other Russian key industries.
How are you going to tell other countries what they can do? See this? No. No. How are you going to tell other countries not to purchase oil from Russia? They can do what they want. Again, the United States wants to be the world's police.
But as you know, that is a very tough sell because they are so dependent on Russian oil. What about some of the other countries who've been on the sidelines? Saudi Arabia, Israel. What does the U.S. need to do to get them to engage and pressure Putin to back down?
I know she's not trying to bring Saudi Arabia into this. I know we're not going down that road. Do you really think Saudi... Look, some things I can't talk about on here. Darn it. Remember the journalist, the American journalist that was killed in Saudi Arabia? Did we punish Saudi Arabia for that? Did we punish them for that? The United States government continues to look for Saudi Arabia to come and help. The United States government tends to think that the Saudi government is our friend. Let's remember what happened. I can't say the date on here because they'll censor it. Let's remember what happened to the towers in New York. Who was flying the planes? There was a show on Hulu I highly recommend that you watch if it's still there. It's called The Looming Tower. I'm going to put this here. The Looming Tower. And it tells the story of an FBI agent that was handling that story. It's a true story. He died in one of the towers. He got out of his tower, but he went back in to help other people get out, and he died. The Looming Tower. You should watch that show if it's still on there. Let's go back into him. Let's go back in.
Oh, the Saudis, we should first tell them to stop bombing Yemen and stop a calamity that is just as bad as Putin's calamity in Ukraine.
See, this is the part where he tries to come in and say a couple of progressive things so he appears to be legitimately leftist. Should they stop? Should Saudis stop bombing people in it? Absolutely. Where'd they get the weapons from? He says this as if the United States government was not involved. Like, we're really supposed to sit here and pretend like we had nothing to do with this. Interesting. Don't worry. The establishment part's going to come back out. Continue to listen to this.
And frankly, the Saudis continue to show us such disrespect after our alliance with them. I think Israel is being part of the process of trying to wind this war down. But our allies like India and Israel, the collective world and NATO need to see what we can do to isolate Russia economically. The reality is the United States isn't enough if Russia can have alternative markets.
I want to turn to November. We are running a little tight on time, and I want to ask you about something that former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said yesterday to Chuck on Meet the Press about the Democratic Party in the midterms. Take a listen.
From my perspective, President Biden is doing a very good job. I think that his handling of Ukraine, passing the American Rescue Package, the huge infrastructure package. I'm not quite sure what the disconnect is between the accomplishments of the administration and this Congress.
This woman is a paid liar. That's what she is. President Biden is doing a great job with his handling of Ukraine. Woman just told you earlier on, Zelensky don't think so. His American Rescue Package. Do you guys feel rescued? Because I don't. That Band-Aid that he dished out to people. Putting Band-Aids on a wound, and the wound continues to reopen instead of healing the wound. This woman is literally on MSNBC lying to people, saying she doesn't know where the disconnect is. She knows exactly where the disconnect is. People are poor. The economy is only working for people that it previously was working for already. For the people who were struggling before the pandemic, they're struggling even more after the pandemic. The people who were wealthy, like Hillary Clinton, the economy is working out just great for people like her. Not so much the rest of us. She doesn't know where the disconnect is. She's paid to lie. No matter what the president does, she is going to defend Joe Biden because he's a Democrat. If you switch the people and you put Bush in this hot seat, you put Trump in this hot seat, she would be saying a different tune. If you don't know where the disconnect is, Hillary Clinton, how about you go and talk to working class people in this country? They'll be pretty sure to let you know where the disconnect is. How about you go visit the people in Los Angeles that Maxine Waters just told to go home, that had no home to go to because they're homeless? Go ask them where the disconnect is. Go see how they're living. Don't just go visit poor people and working class people when you want to get elected. And that's what a lot of them do. Most of the time, they're not out there trying to help people in those neighborhoods. They only show up when they want you to vote. Let's be real. And out of the shadows comes a dark horse. She wears a 1950s hairstyle in 2022. She has a scary face. She simps for Democrats. She's a snake in the grass. She's a liar. She's a warmonger. Her name is Hillary Clinton. Every time things are not going well for the Democratic Party, this woman shows up to try to save the party. Why they are taking advice from someone who lost is beyond me. Because if Hillary Clinton knew so damn much, she wouldn't have lost to a reality TV star. This is who they're taking advice from. This is who they're listening to. Let's go back in.
And the understanding of what's been done and the impact it will have on the American public. We've got a great story to tell, and we need to get out there and do a better job of telling it.
Do you agree with Secretary Clinton?
If that was the great story that she was talking about, that little story that she just gave, if she considers that to be a great story, she needs to read more books.
Democrats need to do a better job of telling their story? Is it simply about messaging, or is it that inflation and those headwinds are just incredibly strong right now?
I agree with Secretary Clinton 110%. We need.
You guys heard that, right? Listen to him.
Just incredibly strong right now.
I agree with Secretary Clinton 110%. We need to stop the self-flagellation, the equivocation, the qualification as Democratic messengers. We need to be proud of what we've done. We have record job creation, 3.6% unemployment. Wages in this country are going up. We have an infrastructure bill that we've passed that people haven't seen for decades, and that's going to help build this country for the next 10 years. The president has helped win against Russia. Russia is retreating, and we are turning the corner on COVID. Can we come together as a Democratic Party and tell the story and look at the investment in Ohio and revitalization of the Midwest? So I think Secretary Clinton is absolutely right. The Democrats, we have a tendency to self-doubt, self-question. We need to tell people what we've achieved, what this president has achieved.
And that's who Ro Khanna really is. First of all, who's we? We need to tell people what we've done. Who is he talking about? Is he talking about you guys? Is he talking about me? Who's the we that he's referring to? The Democrats in DC? They've been telling people what they've done. You and Hillary Clinton just told people the American Rescue Act, the infrastructure bill. That's the problem. That's all you got. And the American Rescue Act didn't rescue anybody. People are still poor. What? Let's talk about these gas prices. How about you talk about that? The cost of food has increased. Everything has gone up. Record unemployment. You don't get to tout record unemployment when you kicked people off of unemployment. Do you think Americans don't see that? Do you think the Americans who got kicked off of unemployment in September don't remember they got kicked off unemployment? Do you think the people who got evicted don't remember getting evicted? What are you talking about? Just like that, he went in and simped with the Democratic establishment. And that is exactly who Ro Khanna really is. And I wish people would stop calling him progressive. I wish they would stop saying he's on Bernie's team. Ro Khanna, again, takes money from Silicon Valley, takes money from the weapons industry. That is who Ro Khanna is. And I really wish some of these leftist media channels would stop touting him, making him seem like he's some savior progressive. He's not. He's not. He's been going on a lot of people's shows, and I haven't seen one person ask him about the money. I haven't seen one person. If I'm wrong in the chat, let me know. I haven't seen one person ask Ro Khanna about his donors. I haven't seen one person ask Ro Khanna about his involvement with the military industrial complex. Why is that? Not one person yet. So yes, it's easy to bring him on and to criticize him about the squad not doing their job. They're not passing any bills. It's easy to bring him on and complain about the economy. But it is not easy to hit him straight in the pocket and ask him, what about your donors, Ro Khanna? That is important for people to know. And everyone who brings him on should be asking him about the money, because at the end of the day, that's what it all leads back to. The con man is gone. This is why you don't see those politicians come on shows like this. They have no problem jumping on TYT. TYT, Jink, and Anna Kasparian, you think they're going to question Ro Khanna about his donors? No, that would kill their brand. Because then their audience would say, well, all this time you've been telling us Ro Khanna is progressive. He's on Bernie's team. If he's taking corrupt money, then what does that say about the other ones that you've told us are progressive? Thanks for the super chat, Delthea. Ro is left-ish, not leftist. Emphasis on the ish. Thank you so much for the super chat, Delthea. Lucky Burrito, shout out to Lucky Burrito, says they have the same donors. You go. Why aren't people calling this out? Why aren't people asking him about this? For the people that do get on AOC, because she don't really know independent media like that anymore, they should be asking her, why is Justice Democrats taking money from George Soros? But they won't. I'll keep speaking the truth, and hopefully this message will reach more people. Because what I want people to really understand is the money is the number one issue. If you don't address the money, you'll continue going in circles thinking the next progressive you get in is going to be okay. The next person you vote for is going to do the job that the previous politician did not do. It all goes back to the money at the end of the day. It connects a lot of people. And I highly recommend that you check out opensecrets.org. You can see all of the politicians in DC. You can see who their donors are. This is public, open information. And everybody has the right to see that. When you see who is giving the money, then you will know why they vote the way that they do, why they talk the way that they do, why they behave the way that they do. They figured out this game a long time ago. They know all they really have to do is to pretend like they're going to actually do something for the people. Tell them all they want to hear when they're running, but once they get in, nah. John T said, paid actors in a theater. There you go. There you go. It's gotten to the point now where they don't even really care if they win. They just want to fundraise. Because if they really cared whether they really wanted to win or not, Joe Biden would be doing everything that he could to help people. Canceling student loan debt. That's a no-brainer. I'm sorry. He would be doing everything that he could. He just want to fundraise. Nancy Pelosi has already contacted me asking for money. The nerve of that woman asking me for money. Now's the season. Sabrina, this is the most important campaign ever. We need your help. No, boo. You have a lot of money. You have a lot of rich friends. It's a shame the way they just think that they can just spit on the American people.